good stuff. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, honored guest. I shouldn't be here. I don't mean with you fine folks here in Toastmasters, and I don't mean the state of Arkansas. Put aside the fact that I just left a beachfront condo on the Gulf of Mexico and the Emerald Gulf Coast, where I was born and raised with my wife. But I mean, I shouldn't be here. I felt it fair to give you a little insight of who I am, was to tell you a little bit about the people who are responsible for who I am. There are three women that showed me what sacrifice, compassion, perseverance, and the meaning of unconditional love is all about. It starts with my mother. She's a menacing character. She stands about 5'1½". On a good day, she might break 100 pounds. But at the time she was working in Fairbanks, Alaska, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, or MS. It was 1969, and at the time not a lot was known about it. Some of her physicians told her she had a couple years to live. Some said, you know, no more children for you. For the betterment of her health, they recommended you may want to abort your baby. My mother, as a mother, thought that was foolish, and thought nothing of it. So she prayed for the entire term, or until my term, until I was born, she prayed. Born 2 months premature, a birth rate of under 4 pounds, undeveloped lungs, jaundice. I spent my first 2 months of life in the hospital. My mom believed in the power of prayer, and she continued. She said between bouts of crying, she prayed and prayed some more. Eventually, I got home after 2 months, right before Christmas, where she's convinced to this day that I was a miracle. I just feel I was blessed. See, my parents were married at the time. Catch was they weren't married to each other. Can cause some problems, and it did with her third marriage. It abruptly ended when he got the knowledge that he was going to have a multiracial child that he didn't father. And for years I wondered the courage my mom had to develop to be under 30 years old, a single mom, a multiracial child, with poor health, living in the South. She never complained. She only loved. And it came from an honest heart, because that brings you to my grandmother, for which she would go into a hornet's nest for me at the drop of a hat. Given my mom's health, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, mostly all summers. But she was my heart. She was everything, my constant counselor. She had from years of abuse herself. She developed a no-guff personality, no nonsense, which helped me, especially going through school. I was always the new kid. By the time I was in 6th grade, I'd gone to 7 schools. You catch a lot of hazing. Kids can be mean. But I was okay. My passion was sports, especially baseball. I didn't care. I was going to play shortstop for the Atlanta Braves. And I was going that way. 8th grade, I had high school coaches coming to my games from our area. And it was going well until freshman year. I was throwing batting practice to JV with unprotected, I don't know if you're familiar with the L screen, but without a screen in front of me. And I took a line drive directly back to my face. Broke my nose in several places. Eyes, black eyes, bloody nose, the whole 9 yards. I made it to the nurse's station in front of our school, and at the time my mom was working 30 minutes away. She got the call, and I know she was there in under 15 minutes. I still don't know how. But as a 13-year-old with blood all over my clothes and a busted face, I'd never been happier to see my mother. I know that took years off of her life, but it made a difference to me. And see, at that time, I became gun shy on the ball field. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to pitch. I didn't want to play infield. I was like, stick me in the outfit. I'll be the bat boy. I didn't play high school. I missed that year. I only played 1 more year of league ball. I focused all my studies. I focused all my attention on my schoolwork. And my mom never pushed. Both my grandmother and her, they always said, whatever decision you make, we're behind you. But don't let fear drive the bus. And I tried to keep that with me even today and practice it, because my entire high school career, I wrestled with it. I wrestled with fear and worry of failure. Failure of graduating high school, which wasn't warranted. To toot my own horn, I graduated 22nd out of 436 students. But until I got my diploma, I was worried I wasn't going to graduate. But they said, you'll do fine. but I had this doubt that I developed, and it carried on into my military career. Even my first year, and even into my second, I had a lot of correspondence between my mother and my grandmother, and they shared with me trials and tribulations, hardships that they'd gone through, which gave me a new perspective and a new appreciation to them and to myself. So after 5 years in the military, I got out, got a BS in pre-med with intentions to go to pharmacy school. Didn't happen. I ended up working as a test engineer for a military defense company for 6 years. And about that time, I was in a good place, late 30s, lived on the beach, good job. And my mom was on husband number 6. So getting to the aisle wasn't a big hurry for me until I met my wife, or what would be my wife. Despite her physical attributes, she was very nice to be with, calming, comfortable, easy to be around. She told me she was from Bradford, Arkansas. I had no idea where I was at. But you know, and my grandmother says, when you know, you know. And she had me at the handshake. She had like a fireman's grip. She said she preferred four-wheelers to shopping, ESPN to the Life Channel. Light bulbs went off. I said, dummy, do not let her get away. She said she had recently gone through a divorce. She taught 7th grade ESE. That was their exceptional students, or one-on-one teaching in the general population. And she was heading back to Arkansas right after this school year. And I said, well, I'll do what I can to convince her to stay, and she did. So after a year of dating, I'm looking for hardware, unbeknownst to her. And she had a week where there was something troubling her. She wouldn't come out with it. I asked her, hey, what's going on? You okay? She gave me the, I'm fine. I said, okay. I learned earlier, you don't press. She'll tell you when she's ready, and she did. She felt selfish for asking me to move to Arkansas away from my family. And I said, that's what you've been kicking around for 2 weeks? You could have asked me a long time ago. That's a no-brainer, it was easy. Sure, say when. She was elated. She couldn't believe I didn't have a problem with moving to Arkansas. And I said, well, she did the same for someone who she wasn't supposed to be with. I truly believe God put her in my path. And we decided, hey, we're gonna move to Arkansas. 2 weeks before our wedding in July of 2010, we moved without jobs. But I said, hey, don't worry, we'll work it out. Inside of a month, we both had jobs. And I was here at Merrill Lynch. She was working in the school district she wanted. And I said, well, this brings me back to my mom. I said she can continue to inspire. She's had a bad 12 months. She's lost her husband of 12 years and her best friend and sister this past Christmas. Her health is continuing to deteriorate, but she stays positive and always fights. She never has a bad day, even when she has a bad day. When I call, the first question is, do you know how much I love you? And I said without question. My grandmother went to be with the Lord June 12th, 2007. I could take all day talking about my grandmother. She had a sixth grade education, but I've rarely ran into anyone wiser or had more common sense than her. And then it comes to my wife. She's the reason I want to improve, evolve, grow, the reason I have no problem stepping outside of my comfort zone and expanding that comfort zone. So that brings us here to the present, me here at Toastmasters. I look forward to the challenges and the direction my life is now taking, but I refuse to let fear drive the bus.